Gosh, it's great to be here with all of you, a full room of not only Democrats, but really fine people trying to make the world a better place. What a great group to have a little food with and to have a gathering with. This is fantastic. I want to start by recognizing a few people. Again, Deb, thank you so much to you and your team for pulling this off and all the work you've done to kind of revitalize tonight. I want to ask my staff, if they're in the room, to stand. Some of them are standing. If you're not standing, stand up and wave. We've got several of our staff here. I want everybody who is a Flock for Congress volunteer on the ground in your county, please stand up so we can see all the people working. And then I want to ask this lovely woman to stand up, Laurel Flaccavento. She is I had to go up to her because usually I forget all about her when I'm speaking, so I had to make up for my normal bad behavior. I'm going to start with some of the numbers building on what Justin has said, and I'll tell you, it's really been something for me, a little farm boy from Abingdon, to be able to hang out with Senator Tim Kaine, Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax, Attorney General Mark Herring, and lots of amazing people representing us in the state legislature. But Justin did mention 72 days. And I'm kind of a math guy, I'm a numbers guy, so I know that for our campaign, we need to knock on about 210,000 doors still, 210,000. Now, in 72 days, that comes out to about 3,000 doors a day, or on a weekly basis, about 21,000 doors. That doesn't count all the letters to the editor. We've already had probably a couple hundred. I know they're going to keep on coming. I know the signs are going out. I know the postcards are being written and the calls are being made. But we need about 21,000 door knocks a day. Now that sounds about impossible, but you know what? If you tease the math out a little bit more, that 21,000, figuring that the average volunteer would do about 20 doors an hour and about 3 hours a week, we need about 350 people doing a 3-hour shift once a week. Now we've got at least 250 in this room, and from the gatherings we've had this week, I'm sure we've touched at least 500 people just in the last 72 hours. It sounds like a lot, but not when we share the work. Not when we all jump in. 350 people. We need about 110,000 voters to win. That's a pretty tiny fraction. So I'm imploring you, if you haven't already started doing that, canvassing's the most important. If you can't do it, or you just don't have the inclination for it, there's plenty of other work, but we really need you to do that. So I'm going to continue with just a few other numbers, if I can call them to mind here. I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm going to give you about 6 or 8 or so numbers here that I think frame where we are and the challenges we face. The first one is 18. 18% of coal miners who apply for black lung ever get it. Less than 2 out of 10. That's an improvement that came about because some of the changes that happened during the Obama administration. And yet, 8 out of 10 coal miners are still being denied black lung. We heard a heartbreaking story from a woman in Wise County about her dad and how he fought for black lung for over a decade, and he went to his grave without it. And that's all to come. 18. Yep. The next number is a little more than 50. That's 50%. That's how much the coal companies right now are maneuvering to cut what they pay into the Black Lung Trust Fund. They want to cut it by more than 50% when we already have a depleted fund, we have a black lung epidemic, and we have 8 out of 10 miners not getting black lung in the first place. There's another number, 470. That's the number of people just 2 weeks ago who got notice that Bristol Compressors was closing and they were being laid off within the next few weeks. 470 people not laid off, let go. Job's done. 470. 0. That's the number of those 470 Bristol compressor workers who are going to get the severance pay that was promised to them in writing by the company. We're fighting back on that. We're trying to help them. 25. That's the percentage of women across the United States of America who report workplace sexual harassment or sexual abuse. 25%, 1 out of 4, and it's probably underreported. 50, that's the percent of employment contracts for all kinds of jobs that now require, as a term of employment, a non-disclosure agreement. Half of all employment contracts require a non-disclosure agreement. And what do you usually have to not disclose? Sexual harassment and many other workplace abuses. Here's another one, 25 to 30. That's about how many dollars, $25 to $30, the average school teacher in Southwest Virginia is going to save on their tax bill on a monthly basis because of this tax bill. $25 to $30 a month for the average school teacher will get that little bit of a break. 25 to 30. $35,750 is the monthly tax break that the CEO of Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield is getting from that same tax plan. And just a couple of more. 4,350. That's the number of hours the average young person today would have to work every year at a minimum wage job to pay for 1 year of the average cost of a university education. 4,350 hours, that equates to 80 hours a week, 52 weeks a year to pay for 1 year of schooling. 568, I think it is the number of children still separated from their parents at the border because of our cruel immigration policy. And here's the last one, 4. That's the percent of working class people in Congress. 4% of our 435 representatives come from the working class. Do you think there's a relationship, a correlation between that low figure of working class people and all those other bad numbers?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Do you think that it stinks that we have those numbers, that it's time to do something that we can do a whole lot better? We can and must do a whole lot better in the 9th District of Virginia, across the Commonwealth and across the country?
Yes.
Do you believe that we can do something other than this nonsensical, ineffective, trickle-down economics that certainly can grow the economy but concentrates wealth at the top but does not provide broadly shared prosperity? Do you think we can do something better than that? I think we can. Do you think that the Supreme Court of the United States ought to be the final arbiter of justice for the vulnerable? Do you think it ought to be the place where the playing field gets leveled for average, everyday people, workers, and others against the elites who have so much power, instead of being a high court for the high and mighty?
Yes. Yes.
Do you think that the essence of this democracy and what the Supreme Court, Congress, and the executive branch should be following, that the essence is this simple proposition that everybody, regardless of all that they are, and especially regardless of their economic status, is supposed to have the exact same shot at electing the people who represent us, and beyond that, the exact same influence in making the laws, the rules that we all have to live by? I've come to call this the greatest commandment of our democracy. Do you think that's what this democracy is about?
Yes. Yes.
And do you think, if all of that is true, that it's so long past time to take this country back from the rich and powerful
Yes.
and give it
Yes.
to ordinary, everyday people.
Yes.
Our economy, our public debate, and our politics have all been taken by a tiny group of elites. That's not the way this was intended to be, and we're going to fight back. So how do we fight back? Well, we fight back by trying to stop the stupidity and the bad stuff that's flowing out every day, for sure.
Yes.
When I get to Congress, I'll be fighting those fights. And I'll tell you what gives me more energy than fighting those fights, is fighting for what works, is fighting for what's happening in the 9th District, around Central Appalachia, around the United States of America. Fighting for what I call bottom-up economics. And we have more than bottom-up economics. We have bottom-up media, bottom-up politics. I'll give you just a few quick examples of the things we can build on if we get our head out of this space that we have to depend on the few at the top for our prosperity and our well-being. We, in traveling with Justin just yesterday, we were in Martinsville for our 70th town hall, which is 70 more than Mr. Griffith has done, just to know. And in that 70th town hall, which was focused on criminal justice reform, it emerged that the folks in Martinsville, the police department, the sheriff's department, local citizens group, have built a really, really effective community policing force that has rebuilt trust between the citizens and the police, has lowered the rate of conflict throughout there, and helping with making for more public safety. We went on from there to Blacksburg yesterday for the annual summer meeting of the Dialogue on Race that remarkable friends of mine like Andy Morcow and Penny Franklin and Debbie Sherman Lee put together more than 5 years ago. They have been grappling with the impacts of race and racial injustice in the school system, in public safety, in policing, and they have put together a project, a program that is ongoing for 5 years now and is making a real difference in all those aspects of their lives. 3 years ago, a dear friend of Lori's and mine, Reese Shearer from Abingdon, called together a few folks, us included, and assembled a group called Washington Independent Neighbors, WIN, which is a political action group that in just 3 years of bipartisan efforts has turned around the Washington County Board of Supervisors from a supervisor board that was not only 6-1 Republican to Democrat, but more importantly, it was stuck. It was going backwards. It was regressive. And now between the independents, the Democrats, and a really fine Republican on that Washington County board, they are really moving in the right direction for that county. Those are some of the examples there. Another example would be the housing project that we put together over 25, almost 28 years ago, that put 200 low-income families and working families, not just in good homes, not just in safe, warm, dry homes, but they bought them by working with the banks and working with state and federal officials to create financing terms that they could utilize. These are just a handful of the examples that are all over the 9th and elsewhere. I could talk about the remarkable revitalization in the town of Marion, the incredible story of the town of St. Paul, an old coal town with fewer than 1,000 people that has reinvented itself, not in antagonism to its environment, but built on the Clinch River, which is the most important river in terms of freshwater diversity in the United States. All over this Commonwealth, all over the 9th District, local people are doing what we need to do. Here's what we need from people in state and especially federal office. We need a level playing field. We need investment in these things that work. In drug court, we need much more widespread drug court and the other treatment and rehabilitation services. We need the investment and we need the rules, we need the laws that allow local bottom-up development to flourish, because I believe more than anything else that the role of the federal government is to help us help ourselves, to help local communities solve their own problems, to help local communities build their own prosperity. Why can't we expect the federal government to be a partner in that, in everything that we do? It's more cost efficient, it's more lasting and durable, and it welcomes creativity and innovation. That's what we need from the federal government. That's what we should expect of the federal government. And we'll get that from the federal government when we not only have a blue wave and more Democrats than Republicans, but when many of those Democrats are progressive Democrats coming from rural communities like the 91st of Virginia. We've got to stop in all of this. Let's be honest. There's just so much to rail against the Republican Party of today. There is so much to rail against this president. But let's take a look at ourselves too, and let's be honest. We, as a party, need to be much more present, day in and day out, week in and week out, in the places that have gone red. Why have they gone red? Why have they been persuaded to vote for folks that we've been seeing through on the right? Why? Well, there's a lot of reasons. We could talk about Fox News. We could talk about Rush Limbaugh and Alex Jones. We could talk about a lot of things. But I'm one who says when I hear somebody say to me, why do those people vote against their interests? My reaction anymore is, I don't think it was clear to them who to vote for that had their interests. We need to be the party that is so decisively, so clearly, so consistently for farmers, for small businesses, for working people, for young people, for rural communities. That's what will win back this country. We can do it. We can do it. I'm hearing all the time, not only from fellow Democrats who are fired up, like everybody in this room, but I'm hearing from people who've been sitting on the sidelines and decided it's time to get off, and they're getting fired up. I'm hearing for young people. We have a town hall with millennials in about 3 weeks, and they're going to help us reach out to that group that's out of college, young people in their 20s and 30s. They're getting fired up. And we're hearing from Republicans and self-described conservatives who've not only had enough of Morgan Griffith, and there's a lot of them, but more importantly, they are excited about a simple proposition, just like you all are, that we could send a working person to represent working people. It's not rocket science. That's what we want to do, is send a working person to represent working people. So remember, 72 days. A lot of people are coming up to me and saying, I think you're going to win this thing. Nobody said that to me in 2012. And they're saying, I feel good about it. Well, I feel good about it too. And I think we're going to win this thing too. But only if all of us work every day for these last 72 days. That's what's going to do it. Don't think for a minute we have this in bag. Last thing I'll say, just remember this. Things have gotten pretty haywire. Just remember, the economy is not for Wall Street. It's for us. The media is not for the pundits. It's for us. And politics is not for the big donors and the lobbyists. It's for us. Let's reclaim our economy, our public debate, and our politics once